Right, this is all inner bark. It's still a little wet. Just need to dry it somehow. Looks like the party's over. These cops want to check me out. I think. Just annotating the time. Alright, I'm struggling with a sick stomach right now. I think it's from the herb. That bitter, bitter herb. It's so strange though. It's hard to. It's like that last sip before I tossed it seems to have done something, some major inflammation and sickness. Alright, I think it's a mugwort. I have to look into it more. I didn't see a picture of this plant, but it really messed up my stomach. I just took too much. And also, if it does induce your uterine contractions, it might also induce seminal contractions for men. I mean, it might, yeah, it might be considered a female herb, but it might also induce contractions in men with the male versions of the uterus, I guess, male versions of those muscles. I would compare the shutdown of the government, the shutdown of all the libraries, the buildings, the park, the bathrooms at the park, to being similar to the cowboys who killed off all the food supply for the Indians, who destroyed their Indian villages. I mean, we're talking cowboys who had contests to see who could shoot the most buffalo in a day. And they did this all because they wanted to destroy the Indians' food supply, limiting their resources and just making them suffer. And I think the government is doing that to us right now by limiting resources, all in the name of this silly disease. Alright, that wormwood was not kind to me at all. I feel a little deflated today. It's definitely taken the effect, kind of a nasty effect. It's not something I'm going to eat every day, that's for sure. I don't even think I want to bother trying to save any. Like, I was at the time yesterday thinking, maybe I should dry some to carry around with me when I leave. And now I'm like, nah, it can stay where it's at. I'm not going to have any more while I'm here. And if I happen to come across some in another city, maybe I'll consider it. But much, much less. But I'm not going to save it. I'm saving slippery elm because that's a good emollient. But I haven't really saved any herbs. And I'm not going to start with this wormwood, that's for sure. Right, it's time that I start practicing cold water management. I'm bringing these back. These sat in the back of my car for months and months and months. And I've been struggling with hot water. Like towards the evening, it's hot. I got all hot water, but the water's sitting in this, getting hot. I want to stop that, put a stop to it with these. I should start looking for ice too. Right, so just walking across this grassland here, I've stumbled across some cactus. Look at that, all the spiny things and everything. There's it's not too often to see. This is the first I've seen it in North Dakota, but cactus does seem to naturally grow in North Dakota too. Alright, no witnesses. I think I want to take some more cattail take more than one root this time. I do like chewing on it, and it rained last night so much that pulling them should be a little softer going, should be softer ground. Alright, so I'm going to peel 3 dirty roots, get a little benefit out of it. This one, I got to be careful of the side. That's still the outer bark though, but not too much. This one too took some of the bark. I'd rather keep the bark intact when I pull, but I don't have much control. Alright, so if you grab several of these, then the later ones have more time to dry out. The first one you pick gives time for the others to dry out a little bit, making it a little bit easier to peel that outer stalk. You know, you go from this and simply just go down to this. You see it breaks off pretty easy. Tastes a little fishy, but I'll just, you taste it, you feel it in your mouth. The center, the soft center. Chew on it a little bit and then spit out the harder fiber. Alright, I'm not exactly sure on how much time passed from the first one to now messing around with this third one, but these little tiny roots are drier, and they snap a little easier. It doesn't take too long for the dryness to help out. Alright, 1:19 p.m. I got a little shade brushing my car. I could park under here and have guaranteed shade. God, I was thinking about that. I would have shade right now if I was here. Shade for the rest of the day. And I was thinking about pulling this lower branch off, and then that would be out of the way. Alright, walking behind the highway patrol. They got a fence in front, no fence behind. Through this field, and it's interesting to see how there's islands of different vegetation, different kind of patch of grass here, and then this bushy tail grass. I went through a small swamp with cattails. Up ahead there's other patches of different grass. It's interesting how fields develop, you know. You don't see all one kind of grass in a field like you do farm fields. When you let them go wild, they can show some diversity in areas. Alright, and then this is that quinine plant. There's plenty of it here behind the auto dealer. Also, I need to look up the wild sunflower. I forget what could be edible on this. There's just a couple. It's kind of interesting to walk through a machine welding shop property to get to Walmart. They got all kinds of weird stuff out on display for welding purposes. But they did not put a fence up. They got a lot of old stuff too. Like, this is looks like a historical device. Maybe it's useful still. There's a really nasty storm rolling through, blowing things around pretty good. Really whipping that wind up. Can't really see much. Well, the lights are still on, so it hasn't knocked out electricity. Alright, it seems like I might be approaching an animal of some kind. It's probably dead. I come over here for willow, but there's this hump of fur. I think it's dead. Okay. Some dead dog. Somebody's dog died. As you see on this other side, I can actually access the willow. It's all water on the other side, but this is a higher elevation. This whole time, I never checked this side, and I wonder if that dead dog has been there this whole time. I've really been sitting here for the past minute or so, processing, and it's beeping, and there's me. Wait, oh yeah, it's a delayed. What is going on? So Cashwise approved this sign. Let me see if I can just get in there. Oh yeah. By hanging out here today, and well, for the past 4 days now, this will be day 4, I'm hanging out in an area that has the most wormwood I've ever seen. And because it's so plentiful, I mean, I have easy access and I could have as much as I want, but I can only handle a tiny bit. Like, I want to make a coffee today, but there's no way that I'm going to use wormwood today. That's more of like a once a week thing. So I've turned to other stuff. There's not really a lot of other stuff, which is unfortunate. Pretty much going with knapweed and grass. That knapweed is fairly plentiful. It's considered a weed. I'm starting to believe that part of the reason why a big part of my reason why my calf blew out and is slowly repairing, if it's repairing at all, is because I'm constantly sitting like this, pressing the calf up against the seat. It's frustrating, but I mean, I don't have many other options in this car. So sitting in my car as the heat was rising up really creates anxiety. When the temperature can stay stable, I get much less anxiety. But as it either rises or falls down, I get this anticipation anxiety, like what's next, until it stabilizes. I gotta say, looking from the mall here, but the back side of the mall, staring off into the distance here, I can barely see the screen. This looks so tempting to run out to. Take my bicycle out to get to the top of that hill. It looks so cool and peaceful up there. Alright, walking on the back side of the mall again, and I come across these doors, which will get, no, it's no big deal, but what gets my attention are these bars, these red bars. They prevent you from pushing the safety lock. It doesn't look like they're locked in there though. And there's two different kinds. Security latch. Never seen anything like that. It's kind of interesting. It's not locked in there though, so you can just pull them out so you can push. Maybe it's a child protective thing. But another set of doors. This is right next to the Cashwise grocery store. And it makes me think, seeing this sign, you never see people pushing shopping carts inside malls. We got a grocery store connected to it, so they discourage shopping carts in the mall. Imagine that. Something you just don't see. Why is that? I mean, what's wrong with pushing a shopping cart in a mall? Really? It would be really awesome as if somebody invented something where you could do this, have a separation. What the heck? Oh my god, I thought I was recording. I was talking about something that would block the wind, similar to this. Have like suction cups, maybe at the corners. You could put maybe 3 or 4 key points from the rear to the front, and just give a couple of inches with a cloth, a couple of inches of airspace between a cloth and the car, kind of like what I got here. This I could push down, and it's a little springy. It doesn't exactly touch, and that separation is going to create more of a shade than an insulation, which is, the shade is more desirable than insulation, I think. So actually, I could go for a longer blanket that covers all the way to the back, and maybe a couple other pieces of wood. I could use, this is like a partial. If I could have a blanket. See, this is actually a single blanket, and I could actually sew the ends to at least one end, just to have this, the rebar. If I just sewed the ends to almost double the length, I would want to sew the other end so I could fit another rebar towards the end. If I doubled that length, it wouldn't quite go all the way to the end. I would need another rebar, I think. This cover in the front isn't so important except to protect the battery. My battery is actually struggling. I think the heat is sapping the battery. It struggled the last time I turned it on. All right, and I can definitely, this touches. I could go for having a piece of wood in the center, because where it touches, it's hot. Where it doesn't touch, it's not as hot. It's a few degrees difference, which it makes a difference. All right, so when I bit that to hold it, so as I was cutting the potato, the large potato, it had this in the center. This actually plopped into the water. I'm like, there's no way I'm cooking that black stuff. And this is with red potatoes. I have never known red potatoes to be nasty in the center. This is a Walmart product, and even the red potatoes are getting bad now.